So today we're in for a real treat. We've come to the Baytree Owl and Wildlife Centre, and what we're going to do today, we're going to meet the centre manager, who's going to show us some of the birds, and hopefully we'll get to see some of them flying. So come and join us for a walk round.
Hi, my name is Mark and I'm the centre manager here at Baytree Owl and Wildlife Centre. The centre's been here for the best part of over 30 years, but I've been here running it for just coming up 9 years now, so we've changed it quite dramatically over that period. When I first came here, there was about 40 owls, and that was really it. So it used to be called Baytree Owl Centre. Some people have perhaps been in the area for a long time. The garden centre that it's set in has been here for over 50 years. The owl centre has been here for over 30 years itself. So when I took over, we rebranded it a little bit so that we could add other things in rather than just be owl species. We then brought in other types of birds. So we have eagles and hawks and falcons and vultures. We have some non-bird of prey species, which people are quite surprised to see. Kookaburras and a raven and a weird long-legged thing that runs around thrashing a rubber snake about called a sarima. And then we have a few other animals. We're going to add the animals in over the time. At the minute, we just have a big tank with some sweet little harvest mice in the shop in our conservation area. And then also we have some tame foxes. We did have some red squirrels, but they've gone back because they're part of the stud book for reintroduction of red squirrel. So we will probably get some back in the future, but for the minute they've gone for the moment. So we're at about 80 birds now. I say a whole host of different birds that we house here now. So on entrance into the owl centre, some people are quite surprised at how big it is behind where you walk into. It's sort of set in the back of Baytree Garden Centre, and you walk initially into our gift shop. There is a map there that sort of shows you a bit of the layout of the centre, and when people go through the door, they're generally quite surprised at how big it is and how many birds we have altogether. So generally it takes about half an hour, 40 minutes to look round all the birds. There's a sort of a mix of birds that are part of our flying team. So we do lots of different sessions involving the birds flying. So we do experience days where people can come and have a go flying the birds for themselves. They run in the mornings. We then on top of that have a lot of schools come to visit us, a lot of school groups, local school groups, and they set up sort of topics that they're covering. So it might be flight or prey and predator or habitats or conservation, and we can obviously incorporate our birds into those topics. We do a lot of photography sessions, so we run our own and then we do a workshop day with a professional photographer, and then from the start of the Easter holidays through to the end of October, we do a daily flying demonstration for the public to watch at 1:30 every afternoon, and that's very popular. Walking around the birds takes about half hour, 40 minutes. The demonstration lasts about the same sort of time, generally about 40-45 minutes. So on top of obviously being set inside the garden centre, and when you come in to see the birds with your receipt, you're free to come and go as you please. So a lot of people make a good half day of it. They come and have a look around the birds first, perhaps go next door in the restaurant, have some lunch, have a brew and have a mooch around the garden centre, and then come back to us for 1:30 to watch the flying demonstration. So we are the Baytree Owl and Wildlife Centre, even though I think sometimes a small setting that's perhaps only got birds, perhaps people don't associate that as being a zoo, but ultimately that's what we are. And so with that, we have to follow the same guidelines and we have to look at the same sort of conservation projects, not only locally, but globally. So with that, as you walk around the birds, say anything that you see on its own is a bird that we fly. And in the flying demonstrations and our experience days and the school talks, we do a lot about conservation and habitat management and wildlife, and we talk a lot about these types of things. But ultimately the other birds that you will see around the centre are breeding pairs of birds. Now some of these birds are what we call red list species. So as you have a look at the info cards when you come to each enclosure, if you look at the bottom it shows you the conservation status of each bird. So we have some really rare species here. So we have a big aviary, for instance, with some African white-back vultures. Now those guys are critically endangered in the wild in Africa, and when these guys hopefully breed next year, so they're a big vulture, and they don't sexually mature till they're 6, so they won't produce any youngsters till they're 6 years of age, and our pair are 5 now. So over this year they've been nest building and practicing, if you like, and then hopefully next year they will build a proper nest, they will lay eggs. The idea is hopefully we will be able to hatch youngsters, and those babies will go for reintroduction to Africa. They'll go back to Africa for a re-release program, and even a simple simple as our flying arena. There's a portion of it we don't really use very much, so we've rewilded that area where we have bird feeders and nest boxes. We've got a couple of beehives in there, so it's an area again that we can look at, we can educate people about. We have a big pond in our flying arena that is specifically actually for our birds. We have an African fish eagle that we use in our display who swoops down and snatches food off the pond. But on top of that, when we have the schools in, we do pond dipping with the schools so they can go through what's involved and what the life that you find in a pond, which obviously we're trying to promote wildlife conservation, say locally and in the UK, as well as globally, like we are with some of the other species that we breed. So we house about 80 birds. Different times of the year always look, if you like, fuller than others. Obviously this time of the year we've got it's baby season. We breed a lot of birds here. We have a very successful breeding program, and we normally produce 60 or 70 babies over the course of the season. Now with that, if you come, I say, while the weather's nice, you'll be able to see babies out on the lawns. We have them in a playpen and in their boxes enjoying a bit of sun before they go off to their new homes. Some of the birds stay here, obviously, to be part of our flying team. Other ones are going round the world to be part of other conservation programs or flying display teams. So if the weather's a bit miserable, you can quite often look through the window and see babies in their boxes. We have a specially sort of designed incubation room, so you can see the babies in their boxes as they're raising, and through parts of the year. So on some occasions, generally like bank holiday days, we have like a baby day. This bank holiday on May the 2nd, we're doing a baby day where people can come. We'll have all the babies out for people to be able to see and to get a bit of an idea into what we do in far as the breeding project is concerned. As we said at the beginning, the centre's been here for a long time, and when it was first established, I think in 1987 was when it opened, and we have one bird here who has been here since the year after. She's been here since 1988. She's the oldest bird here. Her name's Gracie, and she's called a Varro's eagle owl, which is a big African eagle owl species. And even though she's a little old for flying these days, and normally we would pair it up, but she actually is a really good foster mum. And every year, because she's very imprinted to humans, she lays me 2 eggs every year. Obviously she's not with a partner, so her eggs are infertile, but what we do is we have some mums who don't like sitting on eggs, so we use Gracie to basically take over that job. We take her infertile eggs away, and I have, for instance, we have a pair of vultures, some turkey vultures, and mum doesn't like sitting on her eggs. She'll lay 2 eggs quite happily, and they're normally fertile, but we use Gracie to basically sit on them and hatch them, and then we take them on and rear them from there. So she's the oldest bird that we have, at coming up 34 this year. Our adoption package is really popular. Nearly every bird, I think every bird is adopted at least once. We do sort of 3 different types of adoption packages. We do a junior one for under 13s, and in there they get a photo of the bird that they choose. They get a certificate of adoption. They get some information about the species, and then they get some free tickets to come and obviously see the bird that's been adopted, and also a little stationery pack with all our Baytree stuff on. We then do a standard adoption, which is £30. Again, same thing included. It's, I say, gets you some free tickets, a photo of the bird, some species info, and then we do a premium adoption, which is set for mainly the flying display team, and that is where basically only one person can premium adopt the birds. They're £50, and these have been very important to us, mainly through lockdown. I think a lot of people sort of wanted to donate money and did it as an adoption package, so in a way didn't look like they were just giving us money. They were sort of getting something back from it, and it gave them tickets to be able to use when we reopened again. So during lockdown, the adoptions went through the roof, and I say everybody was amazing. All the local community certainly were amazing to us. We had lots of local companies offer to pay the food bill for the birds, and obviously even now, we're still obviously feeling the backlash of COVID and all the other dramas that are coming through now, with inflation and rising costs of everything, and the adoption packages are a huge help to us. And with having over 80 birds and all of them adopted at least once, obviously a lot of people renew that adoption every season, and that is a huge help to the centre. So we're open from 10 till 4 every day, apart from Mondays in term time. So during the school holidays and on bank holidays, we're open on a Monday. We're set inside Baytree Garden Centre. So the garden centre is fairly easy to find. It's well signposted from Spalding. As you come out of town towards Springfields, straight over the roundabout, past the garage and McDonald's. And then as you come down the road, you'll see the fun farm next door to the garden centre. And the Baytree Owl and Wildlife Centre is set in the back of the garden centre. So you actually go through the garden centre itself and into there, and then you'll find us in the back corner. And as I say, we're open from 10 till 4 every day, all the way through the year. The flying display season, so it runs from the start of the Easter holidays through to the end of October and runs at 1:30 every afternoon.